What's up, everybody? It's Luke James, not the singer. If you're looking to contact me, you can hit up this email that's right here. And today you are tuned in to an episode of The Rundown, or should I say, a mega-sized episode of The Rundown, where I do a bunch of short reviews for a bunch of projects that I haven't talked about so far this year. I think this is a good way to clean up some albums that people have been asking me about, because I just don't have as much time as I used to, but I still want to talk about all these. So if this segment goes over well and you guys enjoy it, let me know and I will keep doing this. And you can also let me know what albums you want me to do for the next episode. But without further ado, let's jump right into this, starting with DJ Khaled's Khaled, where once again, DJ Khaled is just throwing a bunch of random parts together, but it does not go over well. This is not like The Bride of Reanimator, where they're putting a bunch of parts together and they make a classic. This is a complete opposite, where you're getting random shit put together and it does not fit well at all. It just never ceases to amaze me how Khaled has all these connections with all these rappers and producers, and he can't make a damn good project, and you even get some performances that sound like people are phoning it in. You get some half-ass performances from names like Cardi, Lil Baby, and Lil Durk, to name a few, and there is an unnecessary interpolation of the Shorty Low classic They Know called We Going Crazy from Migos and Her. They just really did not need to mess around with that song, and like I said, there's weird combinations all over this. You even have 21 Savage and Justin Bieber on Let It Go, where they go together about as well as chocolate syrup and mayonnaise in a glass. He is just chucking this shit together, and it never works out. You have Drake half-assing it on here as well. His flows are so lazy on Popstar, it sounds like a bucket in the garage fell on his head, and he's just like, am I in the booth now? I'm rapping. Really, really weak performance from him there. And on Grease, he's singing like someone is forcing him to sing at gunpoint. He just doesn't sound interested, and it's the same thing with most of the people on this project. You have Megan Thee Stallion on here, who does have one of the better performances on I Did It. That was one of the positives. And the Jay-Z and Nas song, Sorry Not Sorry, it's alright. It's not as good as you would like to hear from a Jay-Z and Nas song, but it's one of the standouts. So I'm going to give this one 2 We Are Not the Bests out of 10, because this one is not a high quality project. But we do get a quality project from Conway the Machine, and this one is called La Maquina, or La Maquina. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. It's actually the second release from Conway, because he did do a project with Big Ghost earlier this year called If It Bleeds, It Can Be Killed. And you know what it's like with Griselda, man. They put so much stuff out there. Sometimes I need a little bit of a break. It's always good from Griselda, but I just can't have it all the time. I think Griselda Records is a bit like pizza in that sense. Everybody loves pizza, man. You can eat pizza almost every day. You can have it pretty often, but if you do have it every day for every meal all the time, man, you just don't need that much. It's way too much. So that's kind of how I feel about Griselda Records, if you want a food reference. But with this one here, you know, you get a solid release. You do get moments that are kind of typical from Griselda. You have Bruiser Brody. This is your standard dusty boom bap joint. You also get SE. This is one of those Griselda posse cuts that every Griselda project has. But outside of these more typical moments, there are still some great things from Conway here. Like on the song 630 Tip Off, we get a triumphant banger with bass that is just thicker than Lisa Tiffian. I really like the beat on this, and you get some nice lines like when he says they think it's sweet till they get shot for trying. Steve Francis dunk contest, Lil Rockets flying. Shout out to the franchise, Steve Francis. He has a rap song, by the way. You might want to look it up, not because it's good, but just because it's kind of interesting to see. He also says on this one, they say West is the brains behind it and Benny the star, but let's not act like Machine ain't the silliest with the bars. And he might be right, man, because he has so many quotables all over this. He's dropping all kinds of fun references to pop culture, wrestling, and sports, as he always does. And even on the trap banger KD, he is not stepping his pen game down to match that style of production. He's still coming through with great bars, great flows, all over this project. I thought Clarity was a nice song. This is one where he's reflecting on his life and come up, so he's getting introspective. And 200 Pies with 2 Chainz, this is one of my favorites, man. They are just floating over this angelic, minimalistic production, and it does work really well. But my favorite song here has got to be Scatterbrain. This is just a fun track, man. Once again, you're getting some heavy-ass bass. This one absolutely pounds, and I think the mixing of Ludacris, Conway, and Jid together on the track is a very interesting one, because they all have different styles. You have Conway coming through with that gritty street shit. Jid, he's the newcomer. He works those rapid flows and he kills his verse. Really like what he did on there. And then lastly, but not leastly, we do have Ludacris, who's still as charismatic as ever, man. I fuck with Luda. I think revisionist history paints Luda as this guy who doesn't have bars, but he can spit when he wants to. And anyone who's listened to his full albums knows that those deep cuts can get pretty heavy. So this is a really great project, man. The Griselda formula continues to work. I'm going to give this one 7.5 Johnny 5s out of 10, because La Maquina, or La Maquina, means machine in Spanish, I believe. And if you know who Johnny 5 is, well, I got some bad news for you. You are old as shit. Up next, we have Lil Yachty with Michigan Boat Boy, and not surprising, because it is Lil Yachty, this is one of the worst things I've heard all year, man. There really isn't much to get into with this one. There aren't many redeeming qualities. It just sounds like Lil Yachty doesn't care much on this project. Right from that opening track, Final Form, he's rapping like he doesn't care, like he's uninterested, and there are some of the worst lyrics you will ever hear in your life on this, including on the song Don't Even Bother when he spits, "My bitch pussy's so damn bald, thought it was a Make-A-Wish." Fuck. And even the production throughout this really isn't that strong either. I think a lot of it sounds very cheap, simple, and forgettable. There weren't a lot of highlights here, although I think G.I. Joe has a bit of charm to it because it's this melodic joint. It's nothing great, it's okay. And SB5 is this eerie banger where Sada Baby comes through with probably the best performance on the whole project. So for me, I rate this 2 worst album of the year contenders out of 10. Not a great outing from Lil Yachty with Michigan Boat Boy. But coming through with a bit of a surprise is Snoop Dogg with From the Streets to the Sweets. He is not breaking the mold here or doing anything groundbreaking, but I still think this is one of Snoop's best releases in a long time. It's straight to the point, it doesn't overstay its welcome, I believe it's 10 tracks long, and you're getting a lot of that quality G-Funk. So if you like that kind of early 2000s Snoop Dogg, I think you'll really like this. This was giving me some of those No Limit Snoop Dogg vibes, but maybe that's just me. That single CEO has him spitting slick shit over a banger from Rick Rock. Nothing complicated, but it slaps and it's a great single. And then on Roaches in My Ashtray, we're getting a really funky ass backdrop and a hook from this guy named Pharoahe, who sounds a bit like Nate Dogg. I thought this was a great song. It's one of my favorites. I have been coming back to it this year, and you will hear Pharoahe on Say It With Your Booty as well. But this song is a flip side. It's absolutely terrible. Just this strip club joint that is very irritating, and it has a trash hook. So there are ups and downs here, but overall I think this is pretty dope. You get the song Gang Signs featuring Mozzie. From the title and the feature, you already know that this is going to be some menacing shit, so that's pretty good. And you get the East Side is popping up on Fetty in the Bag. I was happy to hear from them because I think they're kind of underrated. If you're not familiar with them, check out their first 2 albums because I think they are very, very, very underrated. I love both of those projects. With other features on here, we have Devin the Dude on the silky smooth track Left My Weed. Here, as the title suggests, him, Snoop, and Jay Black are lamenting over losing weed. And we have Cocaine popping up on Talk That Shit to Me. Like I said earlier, this reminds me of that early 2000s Snoop Dogg. That song in particular kind of reminds me of The Last Meal. So this is a short and to the point affair that I think is pretty dope. I'm going to give it 7 roaches in an ashtray out of 10. Check this one out if you're a fan of Snoop. Up next, we have one of my favorite projects of the year, and it is Jazmine Sullivan with Heaux. This came out at the start of the year. I haven't really talked about it too much, but I've been revisiting it a lot. I really, really appreciate this one. You have excellent vocal performances as expected from Jazmine Sullivan. She has always been a great singer. You'll hear this on Pick Up Your Feelings, where she's done with the bullshit and baggage, and you're also going to get some really strong vocal performances and a bit of humor on the bouncy banger Put It Down. This is honestly one of my favorite tracks of the year. It's just funny, it's catchy, it slaps, and she's on here singing about being dignitized by a mama's boy who can't do anything, man. He's broke, he lives at home with his mama, but he's slanging that dick so good she's dignitized and she can't help herself because he puts it down. So I thought that was a funny idea for a track, and it does fit well with the title and theme of this project. It's called Heaux. Throughout you will get these interludes where women are sharing their Heaux, you know, speaking on love, sex, and relationships. Really just an interesting project that also has some quality features. You have Ari Lennox on the soulful joint On It, Anderson .Paak on the groovy song Price Tags, and her pops up on the acoustic track Girl Like Me. So with these different features, some of the different production styles, you are getting a lot of variety and versatility here. I think this is a really dope album, and I'm going to give it 8.5 Heaux are better than Veggie Tales out of 10. Jazmine Sullivan coming through with a great one. Check it out. And now we come to a project that was honestly a bit disappointing for me. It is 13 with A Magnificent Day for an Exorcism. I had high hopes for this one because Pharoahe Monch has always been a top tier lyricist. He has crazy flows, rhyme schemes, breath control, and he does get into some good topics, but man, I could not get into this project at all. It is a rap rock project, and I think rap rock is very hard to do well. You need to have some instrumentals that are really hard hitting, maybe changing up a lot and just doing interesting things, and in my opinion, I might be in the minority here, here, I didn't get that from these beats. I found them to be kind of dry. They kind of trotted along with not too much happening. Did not like the overall sound of this, but there were still some great moments, man. You have the number 13 theme song called Triskaidekaphobia. I think I'm saying that right. That was a cool idea. I like the concept there. And you get some politically charged songs like Colt 45 and Fight with Cypress Hill. So there are these moments where you're getting interesting content, but for me personally, just sonically, this one has not had me coming back to it at all. Did not care for it, but I do want to be clear that Pharoahe Monch is snapping on this. He does his damn thing, so I'm not hating on him. I just didn't like the sound, and I'm going to go with 5.5 possessed girls vomiting excessively out of 10, because we're talking about an exorcism here. That's how I feel, but I'm curious to see what you guys think about it. Up next, we have Jimmy Jones and Harry Fraud with the Fraud Department, and I think this is just a perfect marriage right here. Harry Fraud, he's one of those producers who's been doing his thing for a long time, and he always puts it down, including on that project he did with Benny earlier this year called The Plugs I Met Too. And Jim Jones has just been on this incredible run, man. It has been very surprising to me. Very surprising, like when I recently found out that Lacey DeVal is back in the business, running an OnlyFans and doing videos. And if you know who Lacey DeVal is, you're an OG, because she's been putting it down. Now, I do have to admit that some of the content here can be a bit generic and rehashed, including that trap banger with French Montana called Bada Bing, but if you listen closely and go through these tracks, you will see that Jim Jones does get into some topics, and he does get quite introspective as well on here, so I was impressed with this one, and I think it is going to continue Jim Jones's run. For a couple of examples, we have Say a Prayer, where he goes quite in depth about crooked cops and the crooked government. I really like this one here, and on The People, we get a very heavy George Floyd tribute. I think this is the most powerful track on here. It really stuck out to me with the things that he was saying, and it also has a great Conway feature where he's rapping about how his uncle was killed by police and the effect that it has on families when these types of things happen. So The People is a great track. Say a Prayer also has Currency fitting very well over the smooth horn production, so that was a nice feature too. And the opening track, Laps Around the Sun, is one of my favorite songs this year. I just really like that beat. It's kind of simple, it's not too intricate, but the flutes on it are beautiful. There's a cool video for it too, and Jim Jones is on this one getting introspective about a bunch of topics, man. He's just spilling his heart out over this glorious flute production, and it works. We have Fucked Up as well. This has some smooth sax on it. If you've been watching my reviews, you know I'm a sucker for sax. Also has a catchy feature from Belly, so I like that. And On Viola with Trav and Dave East, it's just one of those late night riders, man. You can put it on when you're riding around at night under those city lights, and it will work for what you're trying to do. Barry White is dope as well. On this one, he's speaking on how his pain runs deep like Barry White's voice. I thought that was kind of a funny idea. And you're getting another great backdrop from Harry Fraud. So I'm going to go with 7.5 underrated Jim Joneses out of 10. Jim Jones is continuing to do his thing. I'm not trolling. I'm not exaggerating. I just think he's really stepped it up all around. Now, this next one is one that you probably haven't heard too much about, because I haven't seen a lot of talk about it, but I love it, and I've been listening to it a lot. I'm talking about Zoe and Tall Black Guy's project called Abstractions. Tall Black Guy is someone that I had heard of before, but I never checked out a full project of his, and it's the same with Lorenzo Zoe Ferguson. So I went into this one kind of blind, but what brought me into it was the song called The Ride. It is just G-Funk at its best. I had heard this on a stream from DJ Artistic, so shout out to him. He does West Coast Wednesdays on Twitch. Really don't want to miss out on that. But this song, The Ride, has contributions from Cy Smith, Black Milk, and one of the GOAT MCs, Elzai. It is just such a dope song that it made me check out the rest of the project, and I was not let down. You have songs like Blackout and Northland that have a bit of a house feel to them. It sounds like they would be on the Street Fighter Third Strike soundtrack, which is obviously a good thing, because if you've played those games, you know how good the soundtracks are. And then you get Hold My Hand. This is an incredibly soulful groove where Darian Brockington, Mushina, and Fonte deliver impeccable vocal blends. I know I'm looking at my notes a lot with this one, but there's so many different things happening here and so many features that I gotta keep track. On top of all that, it's just impossible to sit still when you hear that song Connected. It has so much energy and bounce to it, as well as a strong performance from Josh Milan. So check this one out, man. Do not sleep on it. I give this 8 grown folk musics out of 10. Zoe and Tall Black Guy with Abstractions. Give it a listen. And now we come to a project that I wasn't overly excited about listening to. I am talking about YSL, Young Thug and Gunna with Slime Language 2. This one is 23 tracks over an hour and 15 minutes, and what I noticed is that everybody on here, including some names that I've never heard before, pretty much everyone is working the same sort of style. A lot of those typical modern day flows you're going to hear some auto crooning and vocal effects, the beats, just a lot of trap stuff, nothing too inventive happening here, and over this runtime, it makes it kind of weak, man. Even with so many different people on here, you're not getting a lot of variety, and I think that's what makes compilations pop. With a compilation, you want to get some different sounds coming together in different styles to hold people's attention, but you are not getting that with this. However, I will say there were a couple of songs here that I kind of liked. You have Moon Man with Kid Cudi and Diamonds Dancing with Travis Scott. I think these are two of the highlights on here, and the song Ski is kind of cheesy, but it's a lot of fun. You've probably seen the memes for it already. It has a catchy hook, catchy beat. These three tracks I think were great, but overall, man, there's not a lot to get into here. You might find some decent vocal performances that are kind of catchy once in a while, maybe a bit of humor in the bars, some beats that'll work for background music, but overall, there is more filler here than a 99-cent pack of generic hot dogs, so that's what I'm going to give this one. I am going to give it 4 cheap convenience store hot dogs out of 10. Slime language too, it's nothing fascinating, but if you love that style, you might love it, but I still think you're going to get bored with it because they're not doing anything too different. And someone else that isn't taking too many chances is Drake with Scary Hours 2. And this is only 3 tracks, so I'm just going to run them down very quickly. You have What's Next. You get a spacey backdrop here as Drake is just rapping some pretty simple stuff, bragging about how he had sex on Valentine's Day. Oh my god, how did you pull that one off? Of all the days of the year, you got sex on Valentine's Day? That is some pretty easy shit to do, Drake. That's not very impressive. Then we have the song Wants and Needs. This one has a catchy hook and a decent performance from Lil Baby, who does grow on me once in a while with those flows, but it's nothing out of the ordinary. And Lemon Pepper Freestyle, this is your standard Drake outro type of track. You're getting that glorious production, that's sample based. You're getting Rick Ross featured on here, fitting in well. And Drake is just unloading and getting introspective here, including when he raps about looking like Urkel as a kid, and now he's dropping his child off at school. He did kind of look like Urkel back in the day when you see those pictures, I guess. Just a little bit. A light-skinned Urkel, kind of like myself when I had my glasses and suspenders back in the day. R.I.P. Myra, by the way, man. She was so much better than Laura. If you know Family Matters, you know what I'm getting at. But this EP is just Drake at his most average. So I'm going to give it 5 wheelchair Jimmies out of 10. Nothing fancy. Even Drake fans are probably going to be bored with this one. We're coming down to the home stretch now, and if you know me, you know I had to talk about this Zero and Mike D project called To the Hardway. If you're a fan of Zero, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a mix of those heavy bangers with those catchy melodic flows, great harmonies and smooth joints. All of those are happening here, and Mike D fits in pretty well because he's a decent spitter. So my favorite moments, as usual with Zero projects, are the tracks when he is getting a bit more smooth with it, as far as the production goes, and also with his singing and the hook styles. So the song The Pie has one of the album's catchiest hooks. You got Slim Thug, Frau, and Mike D on here, paper chasing over the triumphant production. Very catchy song. Playas is smoother than silk with its very hazy production and an interpolation of Bobby Brown's classic track Roni. And I do have to point out that some of the production here is handled by Beans and Cornbread. Beans and Cornbread, they have got to be one of the most underrated production teams out there, and I mean it. As soon as you hear that Beans and Cornbread tag, you know that you are in for some heat, and it's the same thing on this project. I love what they do. They always have great bass lines, very catchy, smooth production styles, and they're doing a lot of that on here. The light vibes and catchy hooks continue on highlight tracks like Plus Tax, Damn Right, and Can't Hold Me Down, and the threesome anthem called Friends Bad 2 is probably the most fun track on this project. I also like the talk box on this one, giving us some of those Roger Troutman vibes. Throw in a handful of quality bangers like No Car Note and Round Here, and you have a 2021 treat for fans of Texas rap, especially fans of Zero. So I don't think it's his best work. I also think some tracks could have been cut here because there is a little bit of filler happening, but in spite of that, I'm going to give it 7 wood grain steering wheels out of 10. Check this one out if you're a fan of those styles, if you're a fan of Zero, because you will not be disappointed. But to keep it moving, we have Yelawolf and DJ Paul with Slumafia, and man, after a bit of a hiatus, Yelawolf has been putting in tons of work. I swear he's dropped like 6 or 7 projects this year, including work with Riff Raff, as well as Kasky. Who else did he work with? DJ Muggs. He dropped Mudmouth, I believe that's a solo one, but I wanted to talk about this one because him and DJ Paul have some good chemistry. They did have an EP in 2013 called Black Fall, which is still some of my favorite work from Yelawolf, so I was curious, would this one stand up to the task? No, it's not quite as good, but if you're a fan of those bangers from Yelawolf, that trunk music era Yelawolf, I think you will like some of what's happening here. The production is very straightforward and to the point. You're mostly in for generic bangers, but they have thick bass like Rose Monroe. And while the rapping here is more basic and debaucherous than it is thoughtful and deep like Yelawolf can get on some of his projects, it's still a lot of fun, man. Yelawolf keeps things interesting with his flows and vocal styles because he's doing a lot of different things. You know that Catfish Billy thing where he goes like that? It's a fucking horrible impression. But you know what I'm saying, man. When Yelawolf was on that trunk music shit, that Catfish Billy shit, he's doing it on here. I think Tote the Bag is one of the highlight moments. You get this crazy beat switch up on there. DJ Paul did his thing on it. And also, Slumafia is just one of my favorite tracks of the year. It is this eerie posse cut where Gangsta Boo is showing out. Much love to Gangsta Boo. She's someone who I think is underrated. So this is fun, man. It's nothing too different. You also have C to 6 popping up on Slumafia, and they do their thing like they always do. So I'm going to give this 6 Catfish Billy / 3-6 Mafia vibes out of 10. This was a fun project. Don't expect too much from it, but you will come out of it with some bangers. Now, the next project I'm going to talk about here is Kota the Friend and Statik Selektah with Tequila Sunrise. And I got to say, you know, I've heard Kota the Friend here and there. I was never really blown away by him, but I liked what I heard. And this is my first time sitting down with a project of his. So I didn't know really what to expect, but I did enjoy this. Statik Selektah is coming through with great production, as you would expect. You're getting lots of great samples, vocal work, you know, horns, strings, all that stuff coming together. And while Kota's rap style isn't too interesting or out of the ordinary, he holds it down well, man. I think his smooth style fits perfectly with Statik Selektah's production, and there are some nice themes here. You're going to hear some great production on Sunrise. You're getting a sax and vocal blend here. Live and Direct has that hazy piano bar production, and while things don't get abstract, as I said, you are going to pick up on a bit of insight as you listen through. The song The Love has Kota just rapping about the value and importance of love and how it can help uplift you, keep you focused in spite of the darkness and negative things, just a positive track. And then on The Cold, it's kind of the flip side. He's focusing on the negative side of things, people that might spite him or hate on him, and how he's continuing to work through The Cold and hold it down. You're also going to get a catchy hook on The Cold to go along with some warm strings, and there's this R&B joint called Go Now. That's a lot of fun. You have Highly Supreme featured on here, who just kills everything every time he pops up. I remember seeing him on Trill Static and some other projects. He is becoming one of my favorite hook masters, and it's no different on this song, so shout out to Highly Supreme. This one is good, man. It's nothing fascinating. I'm not going to rant and rave about it too much, but I am going to give it 7.5 sunny days out of 10. That's what this one feels like. Just sunny days, positive vibes, light and breezy. Check it out if you like traditional hip-hop and you just want those positive vibes. Now, this one here did give me some positive vibes. I'm talking about Pete and Boz with their quick little mixtape. These two geezers came out of the UK a couple years ago. They made some really dope tracks, including one of my personal favorites, Dance in the Peugeot, I think is how you say it. Great track. But man, they came out on the scene. I thought they were kind of a joke and they'd be gone in a year, maybe even a couple months. But they're still here after all this time, putting in work, and they're making fun music, man. I really like Pete and Boz. I'm not trolling here. I think they have very interesting, charismatic flows. They have some funny lines. And I'm not trolling when I say this, but their mic presence, charisma, and energy levels are better than some of these young dudes out here who are putting in work. I really like this one a lot. A lot of fun things happening here. I mean, I'm not gonna go too crazy here. Not saying this is like one of my favorite projects of the year, but it is fun. You got some really nice bangers on here. I think Oi, Speeding, and Two Phones in particular are just all out slappers. And then the song Golf, there's some flows on there that you just cannot deny. Now, I don't know who all is behind this exactly, who's helping them put together these rhymes and verses. Maybe I should look into that more, or if you're in the comment section, you can let me know. But regardless, they're still getting in the booth, and they're rapping it, and they're doing it well. They're working those flows. They're bringing their own energy. I really like this one a lot, man. I've been having fun with it, so I'm going to give it 6.5 dangling old man balls getting stuck under their ass when they go to sit down out of 10. Like I said, maybe it sounded like I was ranting and raving, like I was going to rate this one a bit higher, but 6.5 out of 10 feels fair to me, you know? It's all about the bangers and flows here, just something to slap on when you want some slappers. You're not really getting too much that's different or anything in depth, but hey man, it's still a fun project, so check out their quick little mixtape. And lastly, I just want to drop some brief opinions on a couple of tracks. Actually, one track, because I was going to do a quick review for J. Cole's Interlude, but then he dropped his album, and I reviewed that already. You can check that out on the channel. So I'm just going to give you my opinion on that Isaiah Rashad Lay With Ya track. I'm not going to rate it because it is just a song, but I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up, man. I really like this song. It's nothing too different. I understand why people wouldn't like it, but if you like those dark 3-6 Mafia vibes, you are going to love this. It actually samples 3-6 Mafia's Riding into Chevy. You have Deuce on here bringing high energy. He fits in very well. So there's not a lot to dissect here, but I think it works for a single. Isaiah Rashad's album, The House is Burning, is due out in June, so obviously I will be reviewing that, as well as DMX, who is going to be dropping at the end of May. I'll be reviewing that as well. But I like this song, man. Just for an ignorant, eerie, spooky banger, I think it fulfills its purpose. And there we have it, man. We went through all those. This is going to be a pretty long video. I don't know what it'll be when I edit it, because I am over 30 minutes already. But we'll chop it down and see what we get. Hopefully you guys like this. Let me know if you appreciate this style of video, because as I said, man, life is so crazy right now with COVID and these kids and work and everything else I got going on. This just is a really good way for me to stay on top of projects and still deliver videos for you guys. Any major project is going to get a full review, but some of these other projects I find it's easier to put them all together, give you my quick takes, and you guys can take from it what you will. So we'll see how this video does. Hopefully you like it, because I want to keep making some videos like this. Hit me up in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about these projects. Do you feel any differently? Do you love them? Do you hate them? I want all your guys' opinions, because I love having discussion with you guys. I appreciate it. And since I did mention loving discussion with you guys, I try to go live once or twice a week. It depends. Again, I'm very busy these days, but it's always fun to talk with you guys, whether it's about the video game I'm playing. We discuss animes, movies, TV shows, Netflix series, Prime series. We get into everything, man, even stuff going on in the world. So if you ever want to pop in and chat, we have a good little section happening right there. Good little group of people, the squad, as we call ourselves. So hopefully I'll see you there. But yeah, hit me up in the comment sections. Let me know what you think. And of course, make sure you do that good YouTube and social media stuff where you show me love and you show me lots of it. Thank you for watching, everybody. I will see you next time.